This morning's class is called Cultivating Compassion. An interesting topic. What's that got to do with yoga, and how would I write a class about that? Okay. Pretty simple, really. Compassion. I believe that when you give yourself compassion, so when you're kind to yourself, you're understanding, you don't build too many boundaries around yourself, non-judgmental, comparison, all the rest of it that goes with being compassionate to yourself, then you can show compassion to others. Okay. And I don't believe it's the same with love. If you don't love yourself, how do you know what love is, and how do you give love? And it's the same with compassion. So that's my philosophy behind class today, is giving yourself compassion in your practice, in your yoga practice. What would that mean? It means being compassionate about how you are in the pose. Like, no comparison or no judgment, like, oh, I just am really shit at this. Or whatever opinion that you might give about yourself to a particular pose, or compassion about how much that you push in a pose. So going, no, this is where my body wants to be today. Compassion in what poses that you might choose, or what variations that you might choose of a particular pose. Going, no, my body is saying to me today that this is not where it wants to be. So I'm not going to do Head of the Cow. I'm going to do Lord of the Fishes instead. So to me, that's what compassion is. Compassion is also giving yourself a class that's quite nourishing and giving back to your body rather than depleting your body. That's where we're heading today. So come with me down onto the mat, or you will need these little guys. And I know because it's first thing in the morning, I'm going to get going pretty quickly. And we'll just do a little mini pranayama and a little mini shavasana at the end. I'm very happy to have my knees bent, but that's up to you. You can have your legs long. I might even go wider with my feet and knock my knees together just to keep this width across the back of my pelvis. So compassion in your breath as well is really important, rather than trying to make a big forceful breath, or making it, finding yourself trying to breathe in a capacity that you're not comfortable with, is not being very compassionate to yourself. So find a breath that feels right for you today, the right length that feels right for you today, the right depth that feels right for you today, and settle them on the mat, and just let that breath be. So in other words, no need to force the breath, no need to change the breath, no need to tweak it. Just let the breath come effortlessly without any change. Just aim to feel the breath perhaps starting to soften you. And notice that there's no resistance in your breathing. So you're just letting the breath be very natural. If you did have your legs bent like mine, lengthen them and take a moment to walk around to the left-hand side with the legs into Banana Rama. Head and shoulders will walk around with you, and as you take yourself out to this left-hand side, bring the arms overhead and collect the tips of your elbows now. And reach away with your right heel, just to lengthen down your right side. Notice that we need contact on the mat here with the whole back body. So in other words, mindful that the right hip's trying not to roll up off the mat, but it's making a connection back down onto the mat. Maybe a gentle pull on that right elbow, just so that you open up more through this right-hand side. Finding the breath enter into this openness that you've created on the right side of the body here. And you can just feeling perhaps that right rib cage expand on the inhale. Just softening and contracting on the exhale. It's such a beautiful way to open up the body, these lateral bends. So relax and just find the legs walking back to the center, head and shoulders will do the same. And then anytime that you're ready to find the right hand side wriggle, the head and shoulders and the legs will follow. So a little bit like an arc kind of shape. We create arms come once again overhead. Collect the tip of this left elbow down. Arm close to the ear. Left heel presses away from us. Left all of the toes pull back. Roll the left hip back to the mat. So again now that the more open side should be this left hand side. You feel all those little ribs expand and open more. Giving us that opportunity to breathe into the openness of the rib cage, therefore a little bit fuller into that left lung. Good. And then releasing. Head and shoulders coming back into the center, letting those legs come in and follow. Walk the feet in, knees wide, legs float to the left, your head will gently roll to the right. And then breathing in, head and knees will breathe out, flow. As the knees float down towards the left, let them stay there just for a little longer. And then only if it feels right, take the left leg and weight down the right leg. So again, this is another area where compassion can come, because sometimes just because you can, this is pulling down of the legs. But maybe this morning it's just a matter of letting the leg just rest onto that left leg, just rest onto that right leg to open out. A little bit more over this right hip. Or maybe it's not at all. Maybe it's just the natural pull of gravity. Just allowing gradually a little more sort of deeper stretch here. So again, find compassion in the intensity. And as we let go of the left leg, we roll back to center and we take the knees off to our right hand side. We do the same here, we weight down a little bit more if it feels right. The right leg weighting the left leg down. Releasing the legs and once again floating everything back to the center. Walk the feet in, left leg, I'll say into like a half a butterfly, right leg long. I call this lying tree. This will open up more the inner leg. We just opened up that lateral, that outer part of the hip. This one's very similar to that banana rama, how often we can roll off one side. So here just checking in that the weight of this left leg hasn't let too much weight release off the right hip. Sometimes I even sort of sneak the right hip under a little bit more and then roll the left leg out. So I tap a little bit more of the flesh of this right glute underneath. It means that perhaps this left leg doesn't go flop, shall we call it, to the floor, but it definitely means that the body is, I'm going to call it neutral, that it hasn't sort of rolled off to one side here. Again, you could put your left hand onto the leg, but what level of compassion comes when you do that? Does it sometimes become a little forceful? So again, where feels right with it. And breathing in, let the left leg float up. It goes long. right slides in and opens out inside that lying tree. Again, watch how quickly it is for that leg to float out to the side and for the left glute to flip up. So again, maybe tuck that left glute under a little bit more as we open the right leg out. Sometimes I'll even let my left hand just subtly press on this left hip, just as a gentle reminder for my brain to remember for it to stay centered or anchored down this left hand side and not roll off. Keep breathing in, let that right knee come back up. Both feet are back onto the floor. Feet are as wide as the hips for the start of a pelvic curl. Tilt the pelvis back, peel away. Press through the entire foot as we inhale at the top of that full range and exhale. Take it slowly and gradually imprint. Feel the spine softly release down into the mat. Back to finding the pelvis in a neutral place. For us to go again, exhale, tilt back and peel away. So again, compassion is knowing what the length of your breath is and using the entirety of your breath to find the full range of the lift. And then only staying there for as long as the length of your inhale prevails, and then again, not dumping out of it, but again, softly. One more to go, and then we'll hold it up into bridge. Actually, let's hold this one into bridge by supporting it with the blocks. If you have your blocks close by, give them a little pop underneath. Take it to the height where it feels right this morning, so not to that point where you feel that it's starting to get into the lower back, but just a point where you feel, look, I've got good height, I've got chin and chest happening, so I've definitely got some massaging of the therapeutics effects of the chin and chest getting closer together. The hands are reaching down towards the heels, getting the shoulders further away from the ears. Again, if it feels right to go a little further with the legs, a couple of steps perhaps, or even fully lengthened, again, as the levers go longer, they pull on the back. So checking in that there's still this gentle curve in the lower back, but not too much load. So overloading would definitely be an indication for us that we're not being compassionate about the body. Perhaps we're just doing it because we can, because a part of the body allows us to. This will give us a really big stretch across the front of the body. So again, if you're doing this, look, also it doesn't matter what time of day you're doing it, but for example, if you were overnight, the body closes down quite a lot on the front of the body, because most people will sleep probably sort of curled up slightly. Okay? They won't, but very rarely do people sleep, like in a mummy kind of position. So often the knees are crunched up near the belly, or at least maybe one of the knees might be. This is a nice way to iron that out, a little flatten it out and stretch across the front of the body. Good, leave the left leg where it is, bring the right knee into your belly. This is a deeper version. So again, this one's where you do need to be very compassionate about this left hip flexor. The other area that we could sort of explore when we talk about compassion is between different sides. Just because my left side is very happy doing this in this capacity, looking and feeling like this, doesn't mean that my right side has to be the same. And obviously the answer is no. And compassion also means giving yourself time, doesn't it? So, being patient, I'm not going to jam this right knee into my belly from the word go, but I'm going to ease it in and see how it feels. And then I might explore, go, oh, that feels nice. I could maybe go a little bit more, or you know what, that's definitely going to be it for me today. It wouldn't matter if I stay here for another 3, 4, 5 breaths. That's going to be my range today. Good, let's switch the legs over. So your left becomes your shorter leg, your right becomes your longer leg, and again, mindful of how this left side wants to respond to the knee coming in and how the right side's happy enough to respond with it being the stretched leg. The other area that, just in life in general, is in that talking about compassion, is that how the body feels today, right here in this 1 second, this one moment, doesn't have to be how it felt this same moment yesterday, or 5 years ago, 3 years ago. It's interesting when I hear people come to me for the first time in a long time, or if at all, the conversations that they will have with me about apologising that I used to do gymnastics when I was 12. That's like 30 years ago, 40 years ago for some, and I was so good at it, or I was a professional dancer or whatever, 40 years ago. It doesn't matter. It's what the body can do today. The body's lived a long life. So we respect it in every one of its moments that it's in. And we be kind to it, because it's served us well. Alright, in slides that right leg, down goes that left leg. Come up onto your tippy toes. Ooh, lift up slowly. Yeah, we've been there for a little bit. Ease the blocks out. Again, gently, lower down. It's tough when you've been up in a pose for a while, even if it's been supported, that body takes that form. Okay, and it's interesting when it comes back out of it. Some gentle knee floats. Yeah. Alright. Again, just to bring back some movement. Then take knees to chest. Again, slowly, because we have had that spine slightly extended, and now we're trying to switch it up. So it might feel somewhat stiffer. When you're ready, we'll use this to either roll over, or you might rock up to sit, again, wherever the body feels like it wants to go to come up. Come to hands and knees for your very next one. Now, I was going to do this one lying, but I decided, because we had already done it, lying recently. Open and close the book on hands and knees, because this one is a little more challenging on hands and knees. So come with the knees underneath the hips, and bring your fingertips to your temples. Let's go left hand to the temples. So they're always going to sit out in line with our shoulder, and then it's going to tip down to the floor. And then it's going to open out. And then it's going to breathe out and tip down to the floor. And then it's going to inhale and open out. Keep going for me. It's a little bit like thread the needle, okay, but on a half scale. All that our open, close the book. So down and open. Breathe out to tuck under. Yeah, and breathe in to open out. Perfect, last one. Hands back onto the mat, other side. Roll down and opener. Roll down and opener. So only taking it to where the body feels very comfortable and showing that element of compassion in our range of movement. Good, and one more here. Both hands back onto the mat. Send your right leg straight back behind as we take this calf stretch here. Sometimes these little legs can get quite tight, particularly overnight. It's often even common that people get cramps in their legs as the muscles cool down overnight. So don't push this one, even though you might feel like you want to really push back into the heel. Again, perhaps we use the word we ease into the pose rather than pushing into the pose. And as we take our time, then it happily participates. Good, change the legs. So it's like anything, if we go into something sort of pretty gung-ho, the body has its own natural mechanism inside to, I guess, put the brakes on pretty quickly. And that's really just as a protective mechanism that it has, rather than it saying, yeah, you can just slam that heel down to the floor and tear those muscles. It sort of puts on the stop brake a little firmer and says, you know what, hang in there. Take your time. We'll get there. You just have to slowly ease into this stretch, not just be like a bull at a gate and try and force your way through. So I've taken us into this calf stretch simply so that we can go into down dog with a little bit more ease. I've been very compassionate in my thinking here. Alrighty. Knees back underneath the hips, come up, and very slowly unwind and find your way back into down dog. That should feel a little softer coming into down dog in the back end of those legs. Okay, we did our open close book. Well, that's a little mini thread the needle, so shoulders shouldn't feel like they're screaming at you. So where's the element of compassion that you can show yourself in this pose? Is it that it could be softer knees? Is it that you're in high child rather than being in down dog? And is it keeping a softness perhaps to the breath? Take the left leg, lead it back behind into three-legged down dog. Again, first sort of down dog, so you want to show that body a little bit of compassion here. Bring the knee into the chest, look forward, step forward. This is going to go into low lunge. So the hips will go low. And again, compassion might be not helping the leg through on this to journey towards the front part of the mat rather than forcing it through, getting it and helping it and picking it up. Good, let the chest rest onto the thigh, bring the hands to the heart center. Okay, now that might be for some people, bringing their hands onto the blocks. So if the spine can be a little longer now, if it means that the back knee needs to be more bent, then that's where it needs to be. And breathe in, press through the left leg and slowly lift and rise. Okay. So for you, where is that compassionate moment in this lunge warrior one pose? Okay, where is it for the arms for you today? Okay. Is it on the hips today? Is it hands in prayer? Is it hands high? Is it cactus arms? Where is it for you that feels right? And breathe out, bring the hands back to the floor, step back to down dog. So we're going to go into a version of plank and then a plank lower and a cobra. Okay. So you're going to take a moment to listen to where you want to be in your plank, where you want to be in your plank lower and your cobra. Okay. So you just decide for me, where's the compassionate place for you to find to get you from a plank pose to the floor and then into some kind of back extension. Okay. Is it a little mini cobra? Okay. Is it a little higher cobra? Compassion here means what's it like in that lower back when you start to come up. And breathing out as you come back into down facing dog. Now down dog round 2 might feel a little different to down dog that first time round. Maybe our level of compassion changes each time around just because of the repetition and the release that's happened. Right leg goes up. Right knee pulls into the chest. Okay, remember you're going to go into that low lunge. Where is it that that foot wants to be? Where is the placement that you need to soften into the pose rather than to feel harsh in the pose or to feel force in your pose? Chest rests onto the thigh. So, you know, we're coming up. So where's your warrior 1 here? Breathe out, hands will return back to the floor. Find another down dog. And know that you're going to transition into that little sequence of plank, plank lower. Okay. Where is it this time now? It's number 2 for you. Is it different? Is it not? Child's pose when you're ready. Take a rock of the child's pose left to right with your hips. Is it active child's pose for you with strong straight arms, or is it more bent arms? And then breathing in, slide the hands and bring the chest to lift up off the legs. Take a moment as you lie down onto the floor. I'm going to give us 1 or 2 minutes here just to reset. And what do you need today to give you that last little bit of compassion in this pose? Compassion will nourish us. And this is going to set us up for what's to come today. So is it the bolster underneath the knees? Is it a little bit of a pillow underneath the back of the head here? Because that feels nice. And find that natural rhythm of your breath. Start to feel a softness sort of filter through the rest of the body. Sense the back of the body just softening into the mat as though it's trying to melt down into the mat. Releasing. Letting go, knowing that it's being fully supported by the mat. Perhaps it's just a matter of softening the facial muscles too. Finding ease in the breath. a moment just to wriggle the fingers and the toes. And then just let the movement stop. Take 3 full cleansing breaths together here. A bigger breath now, but again, still being mindful that it's not forceful. And then just a really deep letting go on that exhale. Full breath coming in. And that long, deep exhale. Last one together. Take a moment, we get to roll onto our side. Again, even coming out of poses, we need to show ourselves compassion. How many times do we jump out of something and then find that we've sort of like, oh gee, it hurt my shoulder? Because we were a bit gung-ho. So again, ease your way out. Bring yourself to seated. Sit with the hands at the heart. And compassion is also giving yourself the time to not rush through this last part. I know we have things to do. I know we've got places to go. But is it going to make any difference, that one minute, that 30 seconds of just showing your gratitude, which is going to frame you for the rest of the day? So together, as we gently bow our head, this is where we get to honour our practice, honour those who have taught us, those who continue to teach us on so many levels, and where we honour the divine light, love, lightness, compassion in you, and that in me. Namaste. So there you go. You can sprinkle like confetti compassion around today. So lovely when you give yourself the time, which you guys do all the time, and I'm admirable for the commitment that you give to your practice, because that shines through in every element, every aspect of your life. The ability to give to oneself for self-care, self-love, self-compassion is